Yes, guys, welcome back to Chasing Green Arrows. It's Wednesday. We're looking forward to game week 16. We're also reviewing game week 15, and we're going to be speaking to a guy that has gone from 2.5 million in the world to 250k in the last 6 weeks. Big man, I don't know if those numbers are bang on accuracy, but you know me, I never let the truth get in the way of a good story. How are you, and how is your rank? Was that accurate?
Hi, Johnny. Hello, welcome to all the listeners and viewers. It's actually 3.5 million to 300k in
Nice.
6 game weeks. So yeah, things have been going well. Obviously, I've had my fair share of fortune going my way as well with the Saliba goals, back-to-back goals in particular, which has obviously played a huge part. But yeah, I mean, I'll take the luck when it's going with me, I
You
guess.
owed it. You owed it from your Eze and your Bruno. Like, I feel like over the course of the 38 game week season, it should, luck, variance, call it whatever, it should balance out. I think there's enough individual moments and performances across 38 game weeks where we hope it comes 50-50. It's not always the case. You owed it and you've just got it with the Saliba goals. I feel like I'm still owed it. And I'm hoping it's coming.
Johnny, I believe the difference currently is between my team and your team has basically been the Salah versus Haaland swing, which has just been very,
Yeah.
very unfortunate. I think it's close to 50 points, I believe, 50, 60 points, and it's just been brutal because Haaland's numbers were equally impressive in that time where Salah was doing well and Haaland didn't perform, which was very, very unlucky. So it's basically that. But apart from that, we've sort of had similar seasons. But yeah, let's hope that you can turn it around ASAP as well.
It's hard now because I feel like we were at a time, especially with the Salah versus Haaland thing, where the template was pretty stretched and there wasn't really a set template. There was, of course, there's always individual performers where everyone's got X, Y, and Z. But now it feels like we're going back towards a very sort of safe but obvious structure where everyone's got Saka, everyone's got Salah, everyone's got Palmer. No one's really got Haaland, and everyone's looking to go either double Arsenal defence or one Arsenal defender and Trent. So with that being the sort of template, and then there's a few key cogs around the outside, whether you're on Wood, Raul Jimenez, or Cunha, or João Pedro, and it's probably two of the four. Whether you're on, well, that's pretty much it. Whether you're on Burma or not, like it feels like it's hard to differentiate in the minute because the structure's obvious.
Yeah, I hear you, and I think you're right to quite a large extent because like you mentioned, the key cogs will basically be the same. But even then, in the course of every single game week, for example, this game week, I think the captaincy decision will again be one where we'll see plenty of difference. There will be a variety. Some people will go Salah, some will go Palmer, some might even go Saka, but I presume the majority will go Salah or Palmer. So there will be some kind of variance, like there was this week where some people went with Palmer and others went with Saka. So, and it turned out to be quite significant. So there will be opportunities even within the course of different game weeks where you can catch up ground and gain ground over your rivals. And not just that, we're entering a phase where a possible double game week will happen. You might have something about the mystery chip, and then there's the bench boost chip, triple captaincy, etc., all in place still left. So, I mean, don't be disheartened by a poor start. I think there's plenty of time to turn it around. All it takes is like literally 4 to 5 good game weeks, and we've basically flipped your season around in that period.
Yeah, no, I must admit, like I look at it and go, still lots of cause for optimism. And whilst I did say and do agree, the template feels pretty set, there's still plenty of opportunities to differentiate through captaincy, because I look at captaincy over the festive period, and this week's a prime example, but there's always 2 good options in our teams, if not more. So I don't think it's going to be as simple. And, the fact Palmer's just gone 18 points, that helps, because it helps our confidence to go, actually, we can back against Salah with Palmer and still own Salah. And then I've got players like, I don't know, they're not exciting high upside picks, but having a Matt Sells when everyone else has got Flecken or Raya, having a Lewis Hall when everyone else has got a different budget defender, you just need Hall to go get a brace out of nowhere or Sells to save a penalty. And before you know it, you're sort of 10, 15 points up on the field. And I genuinely believe that's an option, like a good opportunity for me. Lewis Hall over the next 2 games is a brilliant option. No one's going to have him. No one's going to buy him this week, rightly so, but he could go and get big points. So, yeah, I'm still quietly optimistic. Not that my season depends on Matt Sells and Lewis Hall, of course, but, it's nice to have a few differentials in there. And we'll talk about players to buy this week, because I don't know. I'm buying Enzo. Is he going to be a differential, or is everyone buying Enzo? Big man, what's your take there? Let's move to Enzo straight away because Enzo is coming into my team.
I'm very much Enzo curious, and I was actually looking forward to our discussion tonight because you're a Chelsea fan, and I'm actually curious to hear your thoughts. Because at that price, he's what 4.9 million, if I'm not mistaken,
or is he's gone up to 5 now. I think he's at a price rise.
5 million. So even at that price, if he's playing in the front three or just behind, he's been taking up some excellent positions. And if you look at his previous 4 weeks, the numbers are decent.
Yeah.
The price is exceptional, and the fixtures to come are crazy. And Chelsea is scoring goals for fun, which is the most crucial part. So I'm very much Enzo curious. I don't think I'm going to buy him this week or in the next week, but because I don't necessarily see the need to sell any of my midfielders. But if you're in the market for someone this week, I don't think Enzo is a terrible option. I personally still think he's a wait and see, personally, because I mean, maybe you can sort of let me know better. But when Lavia's there, when Caicedo's there's always a possibility that in the easier fixtures, Gusto can play as the right back, which leaves one slot to compete for. So I'm not exactly sure whether Enzo will play in the attacking positions in every game week from now on, especially in the easier fixtures. That is what is worrying me. And that is exactly why I want to sort of assess for the next 1 or 2 weeks where I don't necessarily need to go out of the way to buy a midfielder.
Yeah, we saw second half last time out. Lavia went off. Gusto came on. That does mean Enzo is a little bit deeper because what Gusto does is actually take up that advanced 8 role when he inverts rather than the defensive midfield role when he inverts. When Caicedo is playing right back, which is what we've seen a lot in the last couple of weeks in terms of starts, we've seen Caicedo drifting into midfield, DM alongside Lavia. That then pushes Enzo up to what is an advanced 8, or you could argue a system with 2 number 10s. Enzo on the left, Palmer on the right, both in the 10. Enzo always slightly deeper. But I've just retweeted it. I literally wrote it half an hour ago. 500 words on Enzo. I've just tweeted the link on Sportcasting. But pretty much, there's if he plays as the 8/10 alongside Palmer, there's an extra attacker in the team because there's one fewer defenders because there's no right back. It's Caicedo, and he's on half the set pieces. He's played 90 for the last 4 games. He's absolutely nailed. He's had 3 goals, 2 assists in that time, and good underlying numbers. It's not like he's scoring bangers and you go, there's no XG or no XA. He is getting the XGI. It's all there. In the last 4 game weeks, I've owned Bruno. I've been really happy with Bruno. Compare Bruno and Enzo over the last 4 game weeks. We did it on Monday's show. Enzo wins pretty much in every metric over the last 4 games, over a good performing 8.5 million midfielder in Bruno. So he's not going to do it every week, have to manage our expectations. But if you're looking for a 7th or 8th midfielder, I don't think there's anyone better to buy at the moment because Chelsea's fixtures are insane. And when they score big, and they've scored more goals and higher XG, second highest, biggest chances of any team in the Premier League this year, they're the best attack. We need more than Palmer, I think. I mean, if I owned Jackson, I wouldn't be looking at Enzo, but I don't. And he's a punt, but I think doesn't feel like a risky punt because of his price point. And who does he enable for me? It's Trent. Yes, it means selling a Bruno isn't ideal. Bruno's a better pick than Enzo, but I need that 3.5 million, and that allows Trent. Do I want Trent or Bruno? Who's the better pick there? I'd argue Trent's a better pick than Bruno right now.
I think I agree with you on that one. I think when you mentioned that we need more than one Chelsea attacker on Palmer, while I, in isolation, hypothetically agree with the argument that you're trying to present, but what sort of worries me is that now that Mbomo's done really well, he's very popular. Do you think he's a sell? I don't think he is at this point. I think the next 2 fixtures are all right. I think Chelsea will probably concede this week, and next week then Brentford at home are always very strong. They play Forest at home. So Mboma, in my opinion, is at least a hold for 2 weeks, if not more.
Yeah.
And then there are people with Rodgers and Semenyo, again, both with good fixtures in the weeks to come. Do you go out of your way to use a transfer to upgrade or downgrade them to Enzo? I don't think so.
I don't think you do either. Yeah.
Exactly. So who exactly are people selling to get Enzo is my question, because a lot of the other mids, for example, Salah, I think Bruno is personally a key because this fixture is all right. It's tough, but I assume that most people have a sufficient
Bruno
bench
or
to cover.
Mbeumo, but it comes down to me is, do you want Trent or do you want Mbeumo? Do you want Bruno or do you want Mbeumo? Oh, sorry, Bruno or Trent. And I think if you want Trent, then the players you're selling, Frenzo, aren't Rodgers and Semenyo. Of course, it's Mbeumo and Bruno. And I would sell both of them this week for Trent, effectively. I think.
I mean,
You got to have two free
agree
transfers,
that
though. You can't sell Bruno or Mbeumo on a hit. That feels naive. But for free, Enzo in, Mbeumo or Bruno out, and then Trent in for your Greaves or your Mikolenkos. Yeah, I think so.
Trent is better than Bruno, but for example, I think where we sort of different over here is that a lot of people have Salah and Palmer. Then there are others who some have Saka, some have Bruno in that spot. You're actually in the rare position where you actually have all four.
He's my fourth.
So you actually have to
my third.
exactly. Yeah. So you have to go out of the way to sell Bruno in order to afford Trent. But a lot of people who have Bruno as the third, they can get Trent easily still, and they don't have Saka. So it depends. It's very much team dependent. So I completely get the logic behind you selling Bruno. But for most teams, I think Bruno's not a sell, and he's a keep because I think you're at that point where he's just a very good long-term hold. And I mean, I sold him for Saka a few weeks ago. It hasn't really gone to plan, but if you own him at this point, I don't think he's a sell.
It's also a question of, for many, it's Bruno or Trent or Mbeumo or Trent for some, as we've said. But also, we have to throw Isak's name into the mix. Because if you can buy a Trent this week, you could probably upgrade to an Isak instead. And should we be prioritizing a budget forward to Isak or a budget defender to Trent? And I'm going down the Trent route because I've got so many fires at the back and it's defense where I need to invest time and energy. But who gives you the best upside in the next two games? Out of all the names we just mentioned, it is Isak, isn't it?
You're right, because again, Salah, Palmer, Saka, Trent, Isak. I think it's really difficult to have like all five of these. So essentially, it's a choice between, essentially because everyone has Salah and Palmer, it's essentially a choice between two of Saka, Isak, and Trent. And I guess a lot of people will be going down the route that you're choosing. And that's the route I'm going down as well, where I'm planning on Trent in a couple of weeks and I'm not looking at Isak. I actually have Solanke in that spot for a bit cheaper.
Right.
And
Same. I do. But because of Solanke's price point, you can't go Solanke out, Isak in easily. You need
exactly.
You need 1.1, I think.
Exactly. But I think Isak is a brilliant option. For example, a lot of people have his fixtures aren't exactly ideal after this week. So you can potentially look at selling. So Wood to Isak is a fine transfer in isolation. But you sort of have to look at whether it blocks Trent down the line. Because bear in mind, because of the postponement, Liverpool are going to have a double game week there's a good chance to have a double game week in game week 25. It's definitely going to be sometime soon. We don't know when, but it's likely that it's in game week 25. So I'm already starting planning for that double game week. And what makes it sort of convenient is that Liverpool have a good run of fixtures leading into it. So Trent is high on my shopping list. It's actually nice that...
What double game week? Just mention that again. I know nothing's confirmed, but go on. 25.
Because of the postponement. Yeah, it's looking likely 25. They'll have Everton as one of the fixture. I'm not sure what the second one will be.
But if Liverpool don't reach the EFL Cup final,
yes, then it will be later.
Then 33 is when the EFL Cup final is. It could drop in there, which is already going to be a double game week. So that means those that have triple captain left, you probably don't want Liverpool. If you've got triple captainship, you do not want Liverpool reaching you want Liverpool to reach the EFL Cup final because you don't want the double in 33. You want it as a standalone in 25.
So I'm currently planning for Liverpool. And I mean, irrespective of the double game week, I've been planning for Trent since weeks. I actually caught him in game week 11 before he got injured. I think it was in game week 10 or 11.
Me too. I had it as well.
Exactly. So I've been planning for the Liverpool guys because of their fixtures to come. And what sort of helps Trent is that even though he's coming on the back of an injury, this postponement gives him an extra week of rest. And then they have Southampton in the EFL Cup as well. So that'll be another I guess that'll be a fixture where Trent won't play and he'll probably play someone else. So I think Trent is likely to play all Premier League games in the times to come. I was actually worried for that Leicester at home game in game week 18 because it's in the middle of a congested period. But now that he's had a week of rest and because of that cup fixture, I think he should be good for the Premier League games. And yeah, I'm planning to get Trent. I might even get Alisson Shani.
Really?
Yeah, because I think that Flecken, his race is run, more or less. After, let's say, next week, the Forest at home game, I'll be selling Flecken. Like Brentford's underlying data is actually quite terrible, and
It's
generally
really bad.
when you come to think of Brentford, Johnny, they're in the past 3 or 4 seasons, they've been around the top 10, top 12 teams, generally top half for XG conceded. But this season, they're actually doing pretty
That
bad.
all-out
They're
attack.
the bottom
They're
5.
all-out attack
Ex-
only, aren't they? That's all they care
yeah,
about.
they're
Scoring
conceding
goals.
exactly. They're conceding chances for fun. So yeah, so I mean, I can then sell Flecken and maybe kill 2 birds with one stone. Where I can get rid of a next to a useless player in my team and get someone with good fixtures and possibly a double to come later.
Yeah, I like that. Heather asked what goalkeeper will you get in. He's just mentioned Allison as someone,
Yeah.
Heather, and I do like that. If I owned Flecken, he'd be out my team. Like now,
Yeah.
I'd be prioritizing that transfer. I've never owned Flecken, but he's not one for me just because of what you said. Brentford's underlyings have been really bad. Although I've got Matt Sells, who the fixtures just aren't there for Sells at the minute, but I'm sticking with him. I think that's the plan. You've just mentioned Brentford's underwhelming defensive record. Does this take us into the captaincy discussion, big man? Because if we look at Palmer, Salah, Saka, all 3 of them have got great home fixtures. Everton at home, Fulham at home, Brentford at home. Brentford are the worst on the road from those 3, and Palmer's the only one of those 3 attackers that gets a rest in the week. No Thursday night game for Palmer. Does that give him the advantage, or do you think safety means and fear of effective ownership means we'll go Salah, or many will go Salah? Where's your head?
Yeah, it's a tough one, and I mean, I think Salah would have been the standout favorite had Palmer not gotten an 18-point haul. But now, because people sort of tend to get blown away by recency bias, we might see a more even split.
Yep.
I'm going to go Palmer. I mean, I'm almost certain about it. I'm going to go Palmer again because Brentford, their underlying data as mentioned is terrible, and they tend to do much better at home as compared to away. So when you look at their away numbers, I know they've played generally the tougher sides away from home this season, but Chelsea are not going to be any easier, right? So I would expect a similar trend in these games, and I would expect Brentford to concede at least twice. And I mean, a thing that has changed for me, the perception of Palmer from the start of the season till now, is that I did not exactly view him as someone in the league of Salah and Haaland, but he's getting closer in that upper category. And now I feel more comfortable going Palmer. I still don't think Saka is in there. I think Saka's a bit below because of his goal threat. It's not as good.
He's
as
all
the
assist
other
threat
guys
at the moment, Saka, isn't he?
Yeah, it's more assist threat. But Palmer, because of his goal threat, I think is getting closer in that league, and I'm going to go Palmer. I think I've actually liked what I've seen of Fulham this season. Yes, their defense isn't exactly great, but they've actually beaten teams like City on XG this season, which is really good. I mean, I don't exactly expect that fixture to be comfortable. Liverpool win. Liverpool should win, but it's not going to be a fixture where I'd expect them to score 4 or 5 goals.
Yeah, Fulham don't get battered. Like Fulham, I mean, they lost 4-1 to Wolves randomly, but then Cunha got that big haul. But other than that, this season, they've not really got battered. They lost 3-2 to Man City, They went to the Etihad, and for much of that football match, Fulham were the better team. They lost 1-0 to Man United. Like, it's often quite close games when they play the big teams. So I fancy Fulham to give Liverpool a few problems. I think Liverpool win, but it's a narrow win. Liverpool weren't brilliant last night in Girona. Salah with the penalty. Yeah, I'm quite excited to probably go Palmer as well. Like, I've sent my teams to producer, so you'll see where my captaincy is at the moment. But my captaincy is, well, spoiler alert, also on Cole Palmer.
I think it would be easier to convince people this time around as compared to last time when we were discussing the captaincy, because Saka had Fulham as well. But I think just because Palmer's gotten the 18-pointer, a lot of people will now go in this direction.
Yeah, I still think Salah will be where the masses go, but I get it. That recency.
It won't be a huge owner. It won't be a huge difference, is what I'm trying to say. Salah will be more popular. Of course.
I mean, that is a good. If we didn't have access to data which showed us home and away records and stuff like that, let's just say we've gone purely off seeing no data, just watching match today highlights every week this year, I'd probably say the team with the best fixture this week by a country mile is Arsenal versus Everton. Like, that is a high upside fixture.
And if you look at the if you look at the projected goals for Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal, they're more or less similar, right? There's not a huge discrepancy in the data. So Saka is a legit option. It's just like we mentioned, we don't exactly look at him as a player in the same league of, let's say, Salah and Palmer,
Yeah, fair.
because of the inferior goal threat. I mean, he is on penalties and he can still do well. I really hope he does, because he's done nothing since I bought him.
I know, same.
But
I sold Burmo for him, mate. You sold Bruno, who's got some good points. I sold Burmo, who's got some really good points. And Saka's done nothing. Rubbish. Because if he scores that goal versus Fulham, and it's not of our call from Martinelli's foot being offside, then it's probably a 7 or 8 point goal, because it's bonus. It's the winning goal as well.
Yeah.
So, and another day.
Saka's effective ownership was, I think it was 125, 130.
Was
Could
it?
have been even higher. Yeah, it was definitely above 100. Way above 100. Way above 100 when you accounted for the Salah vice captaincies.
Yeah.
So, I mean, effectively when he scored, I should have not exactly been that happy, because it was going against my team. But because I wanted to justify that transfer in my head, I was actually really happy that Saka had scored.
Yes.
And I was actually fairly annoyed when it was
same.
disallowed.
I really was. Although then I went, as a Chelsea fan,
I really feel for the captainers. I really feel for the captainers.
Yeah. So Fulham we quite like. I mean, Nathan says, it'll be at Anfield. Come on, we've got to think about Anfield. Yeah, Anfield's great, guys, but they can lose at Fulham are good. Stamford Bridge is also quite good for Chelsea. Look at their home record. So no, I think that's where I'm at. We speak about penalties. Saka is on them, but he sometimes gives them away. One bloke that will never give a penalty away, and Madueke and Sterling have tried getting the ball off him, is Cole Palmer. He has now scored 12 penalties out of 12 in the Premier League. Guys, guesses in the chat. Put a number in the chat from the amount of times out those 12 goals that he sent the keeper the wrong way. How many times out of those 12 did he send the keeper the wrong way? Put a digit in the chat, guys. Get your guesses in. We'll flash them up on screen.
It tends to happen the majority of time from what I gather.
Yeah, I don't know how he does it, because
the Panenka, and even the one, I think Foster went the other way in the first one as well. So the two from my memory. I watched
all 12 this morning. Chelsea have put something out on social. I retweeted it. The one against Vicario, I think it was the third one he took. He got a hand to it, Vicario, and it came in off the post. All the others were convincing. It was like, keeper's nowhere near him. Yeah, it's 10. 10 out of 12. Like, that is amazing. Sent the keeper the wrong way 10 times.
And he hasn't missed from memory,
and
right?
He hit the target. He hasn't missed. He always hits the target.
Yeah, exactly.
Impressive. So, 2 Panenkas.
Watch him miss a penalty now.
Do you know
well, at least I'll have Flecken.
When you watch a penalty take, it's like, if I've owned Ollie Watkins, genuinely, I don't want him taking the penalty, because I do think there's a good chance he misses, and I have to close my eyes. I can't watch it. Even Mo Salah, I'll watch him and be like, oh, he could miss. Like, you always worry, especially if you've got the armband on them. Cole Palmer, I don't even doubt it. I celebrate the point.
I hear you, but I hear you. It depends on the taker. But even with someone like Watkins, I would rather be in a position where he has the penalty, and I would rather chance the fact that he has a penalty.
What if he got the assist? What if Watkins gets the assist? I want him to pass the ball to John McGinn or someone, or Tielemans.
It depends, right? Because the bonus points are...
I'll take the 3, mate.
That's significant as well. I'm more greedy, I guess. I guess I'm more greedy. But generally, when my keeper concedes a penalty, I don't necessarily mind, because it gives him the opportunity to possibly haul, right? So if Palmer gets a penalty against Flecken and Flecken saves it...
especially the way bonus...
I'm not sure whether I'll be happy or sad.
The bonus for keepers when they saved a penalty was massive. So if you saved a pen, you got bonus, even if you conceded 3-4 goals in the game. Now, not always the case with goalkeepers. We've not seen many penalty saves, have we? I think Sanchez got one this season. Has Areola had one, maybe? Rings a bell.
Henderson had one, I think. Henderson had one.
Anana, maybe.
Recently.
It's been 4 or 5. Yeah, Henderson did. You're right. Anana did as well.
Henderson made one very recently against someone I'm forgetting.
Matt Sells hasn't, and neither's Flecken, and now the 2 we own. Raya's not had a penalty save either, I don't think.
Yeah, that's true.
In the chat.
The popular keepers haven't really.
Yeah. Mate, this week, if you own Isak, just to summarise or finish on our captaincy discussion, if you own Isak, do you consider captaining him? Leicester at home.
I think he'll do well. And I think he's a legit choice. I don't think he's a terrible choice, but I just think Palmer and Salah are in a league above.
Yeah, same. I still have slight trust issues with Newcastle. I would be buying Isak this week if I could. I think he's a great pick. But if Newcastle went and drew 1-1 with Leicester at home, you're probably not that surprised. If Chelsea drew 1-1 with Brentford or Liverpool drew 1-1 with Fulham, you're more surprised. Like, genuinely, the trust issues on the team for me.
It's just that, I don't necessarily think it will be a 1-1 kind of game. I think it'll be an open game because Root is very attacking. Newcastle at home are fairly attacking as well. So under Van Nistelrooy, I expect Leicester to concede plenty of goals, and I think this is a very good fixture for Isak and even Gordon for people who have him.
Cedric says, how many goalkeepers have assists this season? I can only think of Flecken. And Sells had one. Sells had one for Chris Wood, which I celebrated. I can't think of many others.
Yeah, I remember these two.
Mohammed's asking about captaincy. Mohammed, go and rewind the last 10 minutes. We've spoken about captaincy at length, so we're not going to go back there. Only 9 likes, says Sigurd, from 211 people watching. No, this is prime example of you don't ask, you don't get. 29.
We need to get at least 100 likes from these 200 people.
Come on, guys, hit those buttons. Also, a few of you subscribing would be lovely if you fancy it. Big man, I want to ask you just about Man City defence because there's a fair few on Guardiola. We both like Guardiola for his attacking positions. Is he still a hold, right? He's still a hold?
It's tricky because we're sort of entering a period now where, Trent is very, very appealing. Even double Arsenal defence is very appealing, and City's defence is all over the place. So, yeah, I mean, it depends on the number of transfers that someone has, whether or not someone can afford to use a transfer on a defender. I think Lewis is definitely a sell, and I'd actually come to his replacements in a bit. I think Guardiola is fairly team dependent. I think you can keep him because his attacking threat is still pretty insane. But the clean sheets look very unlikely, actually, because their defensive data isn't great. Coming to Lewis's replacements, Gianni, I think your boy Colwill is probably the best defender that people can get, because Chelsea's run is practically insane from this point. There was a period where I really liked Brighton defense and Dunk, but their best fixtures are sort of out of the way, and like they have, I mean, their fixtures are still good, but they're not exactly fixtures we'd expect them to keep clean sheets in. So I think I'd rather go with the Chelsea defender at this point.
I get it. This next 7 fixtures, I think they played Man City in 8 fixtures time, but a block of 7 is unreal for them. Like, it's a lot of mid-table teams there, but there's none of the top teams. And I feel like we're conceding way fewer big chances than we were at the start of the season. I haven't got the data to back that up, but I'm pretty sure that would be the case. Like, early on in the season, we looked way more vulnerable than we do now. And I think because the midfield's functioning well, it really, really adds to our defensive sort of solidity. Colwill's good. Colwill's good. I prefer Colwill to Sanchez. A few are looking at Sanchez, but all I'd say about Sanchez is if he has 2 bad games, maybe 3 bad games, that really bad games, he'll be dropped. Colwill can have bad games and he won't be dropped. Like, Colwill's clearly first choice or nailed. Cucurella probably the same. But Sanchez is like, at the moment he's Chelsea's number 1, but that's certainly not a safe seat. So yeah, I like Colwill.
Yeah, I think Colwill is fine. He missed a game in midweek, but against Southampton that was, I believe. But I assume that was due to an injury that
well, Jackson missed that one too. No, I think he just went full on rotation midweek team. Like, there was a lot of players that, I mean, Cole Palmer started, of course, as did Enzo, but the wide men changed. Like, Madueke started instead of, I think, Pedro Neto. We saw the defense completely reshuffle. We even saw Sanchez drop for that game at Southampton. Like, we saw Sanchez on the bench. So pretty sure Colwill was just benched because it was like, let's play the midweek team, which you might get on the Boxing Day fixtures, that midweek round for Chelsea. Like, they might play them. They might rotate Jackson again that week. Like, Maresca does clearly like his midweek team and his weekend team. And we've seen even in the Premier League, if it's a midweek fixture, Southampton's the only example, small sample size, but he went and played a lot from the Europa League team.
Do you think the side will be settled from this point in? Do you think he'll mostly play a similar team, except for the odd game?
Yeah, because Chelsea don't have the EFL Cup, so there's another layer there where the likes of Arsenal and Liverpool, Spurs, they've got an EFL Cup game in the next midweek. There's no European football after this round, right, for a while. So Chelsea now are going to be going back to playing once a week for a few weeks. And then obviously it's the Boxing Day fixtures. And then it's the FA Cup, like early Jan, where again, there'll be a rest middle of January. So I don't see much rotation at all. I think Colwill, for example, probably starts every game.
Gianni, you mentioned Solanke a couple of minutes ago.
Yeah.
You were fairly bullish on selling him earlier when we discussed, I think, a week ago. Do you still stand by your stance after he scored, or do you think that he's a hold at this point?
I have 0.6 in the bank, and I could go Solanke to Isak. I'm now 0.1 or 0.2 from that because of the price rises. So that plan went out the window when Isak kept rising in price. The goal doesn't really make a difference. I still want Rid, but it seems foolish to play him against Southampton, to sell him ahead of Southampton. Like, I'm prioritizing my backline, and also I've got players like Rico Lewis suspended, so I need to invest transfer elsewhere. It's just a case for me of other fires to put out, but Solanke's still not someone I want in my team. Like, I know he took his goal well. I think he's a brilliant footballer, just not a great FPL asset at the moment.
I think my thoughts are still similar to last week, where I don't exactly look at him as a problem in my team, and I just want to keep him for the foreseeable.
Yeah. Fair. I mean, he's good enough. He ticks along. I just think there's more explosive options. I include Jackson and Isak and Havertz in that. Thoughts on Gomez? He started last night, Taylor. I needed to see last night's game to know if Gomez was still first choice option outside of Konate, because there was a fear that Kwanzaa could get the nod. Clean sheet, started the game. Gomez is fine. Konate's due back mid-January. You're going to get 5 or 6 games. If you're happy with 5 or 6 games in a transfer out waiting to happen, then do it. Gomez is fine. What do you reckon, big man? Gomez?
Yeah, I don't think I'd go there personally, because if Liverpool do get a double game week at some point, you'd want a third Liverpool player later. So getting a player back in and then swapping him out doesn't exactly make sense, especially for a player who doesn't exactly have high upside. I would just rather get someone like a Colwill, as mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I think so. Guys, thank you for your questions. Other big topics to discuss, big man. We've sort of semi-spoken about. I think we've probably done enough on Trent. We've done a lot on captaincy.
Yeah. Raul Jimenez.
Oh.
You were right last week.
You owe me. You were right
last week. And I can see you blushing, Danny. I mean, this is honestly the happiest you've been.
Like, look, I said I'm a very average FPL manager, but team predictions is my thing, and starting 11s is my thing. And Muniz just didn't do enough. If Muniz has scored in the week, maybe, but didn't do enough. Yeah.
And now I assume you see Raul starting in the foreseeable. Might get the odd rest here or there, but he'll
get a lot of early subs, but that's fine too. Like, good goal, wasn't it?
Crazy goal. I mean, I didn't expect him to beat Raya from there. I think that shot had like 0.04 or 0.5 xg because it was from distance, right? So yeah, I mean, I'll take that with both hands.
And the bonus points as well. It helped that Saka didn't go and score late, because then again, better bonus share for Raul Jimenez. So that Saka goal,
he got a yellow, and even despite that, he actually got 3 bonus points.
Yeah, it's good.
That was amazing.
I tell you who lost his bonus points: Erling Haaland. Did you see that?
Saliba as well. Saliba and Solanke as well.
Did they?
1 each.
It's funny that it changes so late now. It's like you can't really take your overall rank and it's fixed. Yeah, I think Solanke losing a bonus point lost me like 100k or something. Like, that's my rank.
Abi is asking, when should you plan for a Haaland re-entry and structural change? Johnny, are you planning for Haaland at all?
Nope. When he starts banging in hat-tricks again and Man City start winning games 4-0 again. But no, for me, Haaland restructure means selling Saka, Salah, Palmer. And I look at Saka, Salah, Palmer, and I can't see when my exit point for those guys. That's more of the headline for me. It's not Haaland's not good. He will be. It's when am I going to be willing to sell one of those 3? Palmer ain't going anywhere. Salah's not going anywhere. Saka, maybe if he has a huge dip in form, but can't see it. And you can't have Haaland and all 3 of them.
I'd actually like to add to your argument. I'd also include Trent in that list.
True.
Because now with the possibility of a Liverpool double game week happening, Salah and Trent are not going anywhere, right? So funding Haaland is all the more difficult because you've loaded up on Salah and Trent, and you're almost certainly going to have Palmer as well. So where does Haaland come from? I just don't think he's worth the surgery, basically, because yes, Shani is right. He can score a hat trick in any fixture given his pedigree uh, and history. But yeah, I just don't think he's justifying his price tag right now. And even if there's the odd game, for example, City do have Leicester at home in game week 19, if I'm not mistaken, where he will be the optimal captaincy choice, game week 19 or 20. But it's still fine if you ignore him for 1 week. You'll cover his points in the other weeks, like we have been doing with Palmer and Salah over the past few weeks.
Yeah, until Haaland's the obvious captain every week, which he can't see that for a while either. Then we won't feel the need.
I still know people who've hung on to Haaland and who captained him even this week against Crystal Palace. I mean, the swing, if you calculate from game week 9 till right now,
wow,
it's over 100 points. That is season defining. That is literally season defining.
I felt like mine was, and I nipped it in the bud a few weeks back, but I nearly didn't.
You cut your losses. I cut
my losses, basically. But unfortunately, I got on Salah. I cut my losses and jumped on Salah after the Southampton game. And that was the one that really killed me. The Southampton game, he went and got like 18 points or whatever, and I didn't even own him, let alone not captaining him.
This is asking Havertz to Isak. I think that's a good transfer. I would probably do it.
Oh, I'm not sure I would. I don't know. I like Havertz at home to Everton.
Havertz is fine, but I'm speaking more from a macro point of view, where you want maybe double Arsenal defense and Saka, or maybe even triple Arsenal defense. So is Havertz the optimal play from Arsenal? I'm not so sure. I think there are better forwards than Havertz, personally.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. Good question, guys. Good question. Big man, let's see your team. Talk us through it. Where you're at, what your plans are. I don't know how many people listen to this show. Like, it's not on podcast, but I'm guessing there's people that use YouTube and go, I'm going to just treat it like a podcast. Let us know in the chat if you ever listen but don't watch, and if we should therefore read our teams out. I never know if I should do that or not on this show, because I do it on my own.
It would be actually nice to get some
feedback.
feedback.
I know it goes in podcast form, but this doesn't, so I don't know.
Yeah, okay, so I'll read it out for the benefit of the listeners and viewers both, in case we have someone watching. Flecken in goal, Saliba, Dunk, Porro, Rogers, Saka, Palmer, Cap, Mbomo, Salah, Weiss, and João Pedro and Solanke. On the bench, I have Raul, Mikalenko, and Gabriel. This is obviously assuming that Gabriel is out. We haven't really seen him training for quite a while at this point, Johnny, so I think it's fair to say and maybe guess that Gabriel will miss out this week, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know. Have you seen him?
What are your thoughts?
Pictured? He's been pictured at the training ground, hasn't he? But again, he's getting out of a car or something.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't train with the team yesterday. That was
tweeted this morning by one of the ITKs, wasn't it? Connor Ticker Tacker Connor said Timber's been. Oh no, sorry, that was Timber.
Yeah, so with Gabriel, I think let's touch upon Gabriel as well. That's another player a lot of people own and want to discuss. I think he's a hold for sure, because Arsenal, I mean, the defensive data is great, their fixtures are great. Even if you sell him this week, you'd want him back at some point later. I would just make do with whoever your defensive sub is. I don't think Gabriel is a sell personally. What do you reckon?
You just can't. We're going to want to buy him back. Like, he is the best Arsenal defender to own. The goal threat.
Exactly.
I mean, the game before he got injured, or the game he went off, just watching him dictate corners like that was crazy. And then obviously he scored one of them. It's like, you can't sell Gabriel, guys, because he's a transfer back waiting to happen. Yeah,
so I think I will be rolling a transfer this week, because there's not much I can do. I think
Pedro Porro, he's done all right for you as well. Every week I feel like we talk about Porro as someone you could sell, but you don't. And you've been tempted a few times, but it's fine at the minute.
I mean, there's no way I keep him after this week. I think he'll be gone next week at best. At best. This is obviously assuming no.
How many players in this team have you had since game week 1? Pedro Porro is one of only a few.
Pedro Porro and no, Rogers I didn't have in game week 1. Pedro Porro is one. Saliba, Dunk, no. Gabriel, no. Mikalenko? No, I didn't even have Mikalenko at the start of the season.
You got him on wildcard, I think.
Yeah, I had Henderson as my keeper, so I didn't even have Waldemarsson, I think.
João Pedro, you started with. And
Oh,
then
I might have
dropped.
had actually. I might have had Waldemarson as my backup. I'm not sure in game week 1. Let me check.
Guys, let us know in the chat the
Yes,
player
I
you
actually had
both game
Waldemarson.
week 1.
I actually had Waldemarson. I've just checked. I had Waldemarson. I had João Pedro, but then obviously I sold João Pedro when he got injured, right? So he hasn't been there throughout, but he was there in game week 1. And the same is the case with Dunk. I sold him on the game week 6 wildcard, but then bought him later. So yeah, actually the only player I've had for all 15 weeks is Pedro Porro and Waldemarson. They are the only 2 players.
Pedro
So yeah, he's been
Porro
my
is
boy.
your boy. I knew it.
Yeah, so
let us know in the chat the player you've had since game week 1. Keen to see some names in there. I guess very few have got 3 or 4 players. For most, it will just be 1 or 2.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's difficult to see, you're holding on to a player for that long. But anyway, Jani, I think there are 2 routes that I can take. The first is saving a transfer, which is fine because the team looks perfectly fine. And then next week I can maybe look at selling Porro. So my plans, generally all my plans include buying Colwell for Porro, Allison for Flecken,
How much
maybe
you got
Eze from Mbomo. 0.1, I think.
Okay,
Not
yeah.
much.
So you need to downgrade a Porro to get
It's
to an
0.1.
Allison. Yeah.
Exactly. So my plans in the weeks to come include Porro to Colville, Flecken to Allison, Mbomo to Eze, and Saliba to Trent. So these are the 4 transfers I'll be working around in the next 2 to 3 weeks. It's just that I'm trying to decide which order to make them in. Right. So Mbomo obviously keeps his place in the side for the next 2 weeks because his fixtures are sort of better than Eze's.
Yep.
Saliba, because of Everton at home, I don't think I can bring myself to sell him this week. He's one of the best players to own this week. I think maybe I can do Pedro Porro to Colwell this week and Flecken to Allison. But then again, I'm sort of fancying Fulham to score, so I don't. And Porro has Southampton, so it doesn't exactly feel right, right? So I think I will roll the transfer this week, and I'll probably buy Colwell next week for Porro, and make the other 3 transfers in game week
I expect
18.
Brentford to score as well,
Yeah, so you'd expect Brentford to score. You're also expecting Fulham to score, right?
Yeah. I'm buying Trent, but yeah. Probably. Fulham are good. But then if you expect... I don't know. I don't know if I expect Fulham to score. I'd rate them... I don't know. Liverpool have been so good for clean sheets. I don't know if I expect Fulham to score or not. They went to the Etihad and scored 2. So yeah, maybe.
Yeah, so it's Porro and Flecken to Colwell and Allison, or I just save. That's the transfer I'm thinking. And even if I get Colwell, by the way, I will bench him for Gabriel. But then obviously, yeah, that will assume, because if Gabriel is fit, then I have a real benching dilemma. Yeah. If Gabriel is fit, then I'm definitely not making a transfer for sure, because then my team is looking really, really nice.
Yeah, you benching Dunk, or you'll bench Dunk, will you, if Gabriel's fit? That's the derby, mate. Palace are scoring.
I mean, this is going to be tough. I'm going to bench one of Dunk or Rodgers, and yeah, I mean, it's tough. I'm not so sure
about your midfield. Yeah, of course, you could play a back 4, couldn't you? Or you could go 4-4-2. Yeah. I didn't even look at that. It's funny, we just never do. But I'm benching Rodgers this week, mate. I mean, he's going to start because he starts every single bloody game. But
he played 90 last night, right?
Yeah, I think so. And he played again. He was good, but I just Forest are good.
I mean, if I end up benching Rodgers, I would honestly recommend everyone to play him, because I don't think I've gotten a Rodgers return this season. Maybe 1 at best.
He had that brace, and I benched him at this like game week 5 or 6, or maybe it was 2 returns. I benched him for 2 returns. I was gutted.
Especially in recent weeks, in the past couple of months, it feels as if I've benched every single attacking return from Rodgers. So if I play Dunk over him, then please do the opposite. I don't know. I mean, Brighton's defense isn't great, but this could be a nil fixture. I'm not sure. I'm finding it really difficult to call this game, actually.
It's such a big one for the fans, that Palace versus Brighton. For Palace and for Brighton, it is the big derby that's fun and exciting. It's the first derby under the new manager, under Hersler. That Brighton, of course, will be front foot and have a go, but I just feel like because of that, they will leave spaces.
Gianni, traditionally this game hasn't been that high scoring, if I'm not mistaken.
No, but then traditionally, I guess I look at different managers and go, "Oh, Roy Hodgson was there," and at times, Potter was very much possession based, but not the highest amount of goals. I don't know. I don't look at history of fixtures unless the manager's the same. If the manager's the same, I buy
That's
into
fair.
it. But
Yeah, that's fair.
these are two very different teams to we've ever seen, I guess. Glasner, I don't know if he played in the game, if he had a Brighton derby last year, maybe one, but yeah.
So in a way, if Gabriel is fit, I have a real benching dilemma between Rodgers and Dunk, and I'm sure.
I think I go Dunk just because biggest ceiling there is Rodgers. Like Rodgers, has the ceiling.
You'd bench Dunk, right?
I think I'd bench Dunk. Yeah. I can't think I've played 4-4-2 for a very long time.
I mean, it hasn't really been the case this season. I think I was forced into 4-4-2 this week, actually, because I didn't have Mykolenko and Gabriel wasn't there. Yeah, so it was actually 3-5-2. Ignore
yeah.
So yeah, I think I might go 4-4-2 this week eventually.
I like that. Old school. Do it.
Old school. Would you save, or would you look at making any sort of transfer?
I would save. I'd save. Yeah. I'd save. Even if Gabriel's out, I'd save. I think the team we can see on screen at the moment with an injured Gabriel is still good. And whilst I like the idea of your defensive transfers and targeting an Alisson or a Trent, Fulham could very easily score. And Flecken actually will get loads of save points. Like I think you might get 6 saves from Flecken this week. CA is going to concede, but you might get a 3 or 4 3-pointer.
That's fair. And I'm expecting Southampton to score though. So Porro, just maybe have him for the odd attacking return.
You just don't know with Spurs, do you? You just don't know with Spurs.
I'm almost certain that Southampton will score.
Can't believe they kept
Romero's out. Romero's out for 6 weeks.
Only a couple of weeks ago. 4-0. I can't believe that result.
I benched Porro that weekend. That was the most jammiest 14-pointer of all time.
Oh, he got the assist.
He scored.
Oh, he scored. Yes, of course he did. His second goal. Late on he scored, didn't he?
Solanke assisted and Porro scored.
Assist.
Yeah.
At least you had the Solanke assist.
No, I meant Solanke as well that week for Calvert-Lewin. Don't remind me of the dark days.
Oh, that is great.
Yeah. But okay. I recall this was the week where you went Haaland captain as well, though.
Oh, I did. I captained Haaland versus Spurs. Yeah. And again, Salah went and scored a couple of goals.
Anyway, let's move on to your team, Johnny.
Yeah. Let's have a look. Here we go.
So run us through your transfer plans.
Yeah, I mean, it turns out a few do listen, but most watch it. So I won't run through top to bottom. But just look at this defense, man. It's the pits. This team needs some defensive transfers in, especially with no Rico Lewis. Mykolenko's got the worst fixtures coming up. I quite like Mykolenko long term because Everton at home, I back him under Dyche. So the players I want to sell, Greaves is the obvious one. So my plans are Greaves goes to Trent. And then straight away, you go, that's a good-looking defence. Gabriel, Trent and Hall, nice. So Greaves out, and then Bruno out to Enzo. I've got 2 free transfers. That still leaves me about $1 million in the bank, I think. So that's one option. Another option is Bruno out to Gordon. And then I have Gordon in place with 2 brilliant fixtures and no Enzo. And then I can't get Trent, but I could get like a Timber. I could get an Arsenal defender. But I think I want Trent, and I think he's worth it. And I don't think the gap between Gordon and Enzo is big enough. Say again?
How much do you have in the bank?
I think I've got 0.6 in the bank. I can't go Solanke to Isak. And again, if I prioritize a transfer to Solanke to Isak, that I can't improve my defense, right? Because that's with my second transfer. So my cash cow has to be Bruno to improve my defense. My cash cow simply cannot be Palmer, Salah, Saka, Cunha or João Pedro. My cash cow options are Solanke down to a budget. I could go Solanke to Evan Nilsson, keep Bruno, and then improve my defense. But it's Solanke or Bruno that has to go to get money in the back line.
2 frees, right?
Yeah. I know what you're thinking because you, like me, really rate Bruno. But I just can't see where I get the money if I don't sell Bruno. And I do think Trent's better.
I know, I hear you.
Would you sell Solanke
instead?
instead?
Makes logical sense. not at all. I think Solanke's a hold, like mentioned earlier. I think I hear you because you're in that rare position where you have those four premium midfielders, which almost no one has all four. People have three of them. You have
Yeah.
four, so you're basically being forced into getting a cash cow to upgrade your defense, and I think you will need to eventually because even with Trent, you know, you would probably want someone better than Greaves.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mikalenko, I guess, is fine, but Lewis, I think his race is run as well. I don't think he's a long-term option at this point.
And I
So yeah,
could
Lewis
sell
and
Lewis.
Greaves really, really need to go.
I could sell Lewis and just keep Greaves as player 15 every week. Like that's an option. I need to think about future funds. The difference between selling Greaves and Rico Lewis is obviously about 0.7 in the bank. So do I need that 0.7 later down the line? I probably will. But I do feel like Rico Lewis for some games will be in my 11 and therefore he's still good value when he starts. But
Johnny, I think if I was in your position and if Gabriel was fit, then I think I would just do Lewis to Colwell and I would just bench Graves and I would keep this team basically. I mean, you can just decide the bench as per your discretion, but I would make one transfer in that case. But if Gabriel is out, then I think your hand is basically forced and you have to almost certainly act then.
I mean, if I went, say, Colwell in, I could actually just sell Greaves to Colwell. I think I've got the money to do that. I've got 0.6 in the bank. How much does Colwell cost? 4.6? 4.5?
Yeah, 4.5, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would definitely make a defensive transfer.
How do I get to Trent, man? Eventually, I'm going to have to sell Bruno to Trent.
You're right. I think eventually you'll have to find a way to sell him and then to get some funds from him. But yeah, it's not exactly ideal. It's a very tricky position to be in because after this week, Bruno's good fixtures are coming back again, right? This is actually the last week where his fixture was difficult. And even this week is kind of fine. You don't necessarily need to go out of the way to sell him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that defense is a bit of a train wreck, and you really need some funds in defense. Have you looked at the transfers in the weeks to come, though? Have you looked at future players you might want to get rid of, you might want to buy?
Honestly, if I have Enzo and Trent in this team, other than getting probably a Raya, like I could go sales to Raya, and again, I'd have $1 million if I did that to go sales to Raya if I wanted and go double Arsenal defense, then I'm pretty set. I'm pretty happy. Yeah, it might be that I move a budget forward to another budget forward, but no, I don't go beyond and go, there's like you've got, I want an Eze down the line or whatever. My moves down the line are maybe a better goalkeeper, Raya or Alisson, Trent, and that's it. Like Enzo is an enabler for Trent, so there's 3 moves there, but I don't look and go, there's 4 or 5. I could be selling a budget defender to a budget defender, sure. But nothing major. Give me Enzo, give me Trent, and this team.
Okay, Johnny, I think if I had your team, I think I'd do Lewis to Colwell this week. I think that's something I would do. And then maybe in a couple of weeks, you can do something similar to me, where you can get Eze for Bruno and then upgrade any of your defenders to Trent.
I like Enzo, man. I really like Enzo. Honestly, I think Enzo over Bruno this week gets me instant rewards.
But you can get Enzo in a couple of weeks. That's my point. In that Bruno spot.
Yeah, but then I've missed a couple of good fixtures. Apparently, official FPL have just tweeted about the mystery chip. So hang fire for a sec. Just want to bring you that live, guys. I'm sure it's not an announcement. We have a mystery to be solved. They're teasing it.
I think it will be announced soon.
How soon?
That's difficult to say, but if they're teasing it, it means that, eventually.
They're teasing it.
I think it has to be. It has to be
days.
Yeah, I think it has to be in a couple of weeks max.
Yeah. I mean, we were told by January. We've also been told it will change our tactics and strategy for the season, which I find interesting.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I mean, I hope it's not something as useless as the all-out attack chip was at one point.
I know, man. Yeah.
It better be something which is, more exciting.
Bill says, I'd follow your gut. Anything else is waiting to happen. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm doing Enzo Trent. Christmas Day reveal, says Finn. I don't think they'll do Christmas Day, but it could be around. It'll be around Christmas. I think it might be sooner. The fact they've tweeted that makes me think it could be in the next week.
Yeah, I think next week would actually be a good time to do it, because after next week there are games back to back. So there's a midweek game week after next week. So I'd expect it to be next week, because next week is relatively free. I think there's like a 4 or 5 day turnaround between the fixtures.
Good point. Yeah. I like that. Good stuff. All right. Well, that is our time up, guys. We'll be back on Friday. Me, Big Man, and Dean. I think it'll be 2:00 Friday, Big Man. Is that the plan? I think it is.
Yes,
it
is.
Same slot as this. Yes, which is nice. It's a Saturday deadline. So that'll be fun. So guys, thank you so much. On your way out, please do consider subscribing to the channel. We would love 10k very soon, and we've just hit 9. So we've got a long way to go, but definitely 10k is our next target. So help us get there, guys, by hitting that subscribe button. Any final thoughts from you, Big Man?
I think I'm done. Good luck, everyone, and make sure join us on Friday before press conferences. We'll likely have some sort of update on Gabriel, by the way, because training ground pictures will be out at that point. So, yeah, I think we'll be in a better position to make more informed decisions closer to the deadline.
Yeah, thank you, guys. We'll have loads of time for Q&A as well on Friday. So stay tuned for that, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.